Well, hello. Let me start by saying this is not a tutorial on construction. It's more a how I built a dog door. And basically I bought this 3/4 inch plastic composite PVC material, and also bought a big sheet of plexiglass because it was just the most reasonable way to buy it. Couple of simple situations is you want to measure from the edge of your saw blade over here, the tooth, to the edge of your fence. And well, you can do that. I'm not saying you want to. You can do it however you like. So basically, I know the size I want to make this is going to be 29 and 5/8. Okay, so I added 1.5 inches. So I came over here and just measured 31 1/8. Okay, so I'm going to cut this 4 foot, what's left of this 4 foot piece, I'm going to cut this down, and I'm going to put a straight edge. I'm going to use that 2x4 there, and I've got a couple of clamps. The clamps are over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that on my marks, clamp it down, and cut it. Okay, so you can see that little mark right there. Okay, so my board is clamped right next to the mark. It's 1.5 inches farther that way than I want to cut. Also notice that I'm on top of a skid there, and I'm on top of another skid there with a nice clean place for my saw blade to go between them. Okay, notice the nice beautiful cut, nice and straight. The reason for the 2 skids or a gap is so that both pieces are supported flat, and it doesn't put any kind of stress on the blade or on the piece where it's all hanging down, you know, on one end as you're cutting and want it to break or something like that. Something I haven't mentioned so far is that I bought a brand new blade that's meant for like plywood. It's going to be used to cut the plexiglass, and it's being used to cut this plastic. You want to have something that's got a fine tooth blade that's going to cut it well. Now, I've cut the rough opening over here, and I traced the inside measure of the opening that's on the house. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that out here in a second. Notice the big openings, okay, and the skid over here. So when I go and cut my lines, I'm going to make sure that my saw blade is set to the right depth to just go through the material, and it's going to be unobstructed. I won't be cutting through nails or any wood. My piece is all cut in the corners. This little piece that came out here is going to be used on the inside. That scab piece will be used to block off, so if you want to close off the dog door permanently so that the dogs can't get out, or to keep intruders from coming in, that'll be blocked. That'll be the piece to use later. Well, this is a good opportunity for me to show what I did here. There's a window out of my garage. Actually, there's a couple windows out of the garage, and basically this is the end of my garage over here, very close, and so this is like at the end of the garage, and I put in a set of stairs on the inside, and without damaging the window, I just raised it all the way up and built a frame just by compression, fitted in nice and snug, threw a couple nails into the outsides over here, and just held that. So in a couple of minutes I could take that out and the window still functions the way it used to. As far as steps go, I did have just some 4-inch solid concrete pieces that were all stacked, and the dogs dug under them, and just recently, just the other day, I brought in some more dirt, tamped it down, and I dry stacked these bigger blocks and poured concrete inside them. I'm going to put some fencing around it and some rocks so they don't dig again. I also I put this dog door in. This is going to be the finished product over there, but these steps, the same kind of thing. They were just dry stacked concrete blocks, and then I filled them with concrete. So this is like one nice massive step. And I've got an elderly dog that's incontinent, and the idea is going to be that this dog's going to be able to go outside the fenced area, and he's going to be kept separate. So I'm going to build a little fence over here and over to there, and then just cut a hole in there so the elderly dog could just go out in the yard whenever he wants. And then the other dogs will be confined to the fenced area. When I was doing my math earlier, I was wrong. I was adding 3/4 of an inch instead. I should be subtracting, because I need this border to be smaller than the glass, not bigger than the glass. So I'm glad I caught that before I cut anything. Okay. So basically, I'm going to take 12 7/8 and subtract 3/4, and I'm going to come up with 12 1/8. Okay. And I'm going to divide that by 2, because I marked my center line, and I'm going to come over here 6 1/16 this way and 6 1/16 this way. And also I'm going to do the same thing from the bottom. So I'll show that after it's laid out. One thing I do when I'm trying to measure from a line, rather than having that end of the tape measure that's sticking out 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch, I start at like number 10, and then I just go over. Like I want 6 1/16, so I just measured a 16 1/16. Okay, so I verified I got 12 1/8 by 17 1/2. I made the distance at the bottom the same as the sides, okay, and I left more room at the top to accommodate for the hinge. I'm going to go ahead and cut out this piece with a circular saw, as I did before, having room in here for the blade, and then finishing out the corners with the hand saw. So the piece I just cut, that's going to be the outer frame. I'm going to cut my plexiglass using the same method I did to cut my plastic. As intended, my plexiglass is bigger than my frame by 3/8 of an inch all the way around. Plexiglass centered on my outer frame, and I trace all the way around it. Next, I'm going to set my router to adapt the thickness of the plexiglass, and I'm going to router out this area all the way around so that the glass will sit inside the frame beautiful. In this scenario, it's not critical that these lines be perfect. It's just going to create a good seal so long as the glass fits inside. So it better be a little bigger than too small. The glass fits perfectly right there. Next step is to mount the glass with hinges. Okay, well, I mounted an extra hinge up here because I had a screw break. I just used screws. On the other door I made, I used machine screws rather than wood screws. But I've got plenty of glass, so if I have a problem, I can deal with that later. Another thing is I put a magnet over on this side, over here at the bottom, with a catch. Once again, just use some screws to put the catch in. There's this catch over here. I'm going to go ahead and mount the door now. To ensure that my piece here fits flush up, I routed out the space where these hinges will mount. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the door. I'm going to mount this piece up here, going to mount the door, and it'll be done. Okay, so this is the final. Got a magnet over here, keeps that closed. Got a magnet on the bottom. So the dogs, when the dogs come out, they lift both of these, okay? And when they go in, they just use the glass. So here we go. Let's simulate the dog coming out. Let's simulate the dog going in. Beautiful. Okay, well, this is kind of the idea. I had this white fancy freaking buffet server. Actually, it was designer, but I damaged it a little bit, and so it's going to stay out here in the garage, and I'm not going to try to sell it or anything. I put this wire rack over on top of it, and just kind of threw some tools on there. This is kind of crude. It's not probably going to get a little better, but here's the gate that's going to keep the incontinent dog in this area over here. Let me see if I can open this with one hand here. It's probably going to get changed a little bit. Maybe put it on a hinge or something. That's probably what I'll do, is I'll I'll put a hinge, I'll weld a hinge on a bar and put it over there so it just swings. Anyway, here's the deal. Got these little steps over here. Come over here. I put a magnet over here, a couple of magnets from some speakers. Okay, they were just recycled. And so basically, if I want to close off the inside, can close it off right there. And when I flip it up, it just sticks right there. The dog comes over here, goes out, no big deal, the magnet shut it. So once again, I just dry stack those. There's no concrete or anything I'll hold in those. This is the first door I built, like last fall. And I put a new door on it over there, like same exact as that one. These are the wooden stairs I put together. A couple of dog kennels over here. This little area can just a couple of these cabiner clips, whatever you call them. So here's the deal over here. Cut this section out. Kind of just clip this on over here so that if I want to shovel snow or something, I can take it off relatively easy. There's the stairs over there. And just like I said, goes over and meets the house. So the old dog comes out of that door, onto the landing, goes down the stairs, and goes out the gate. So he can have some peace and quiet and stay away from the other dogs.